This is Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars with Trevor Long and Stephen Fennick. Thanks to NRMA Insurance and Uniden.
That's right, Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. NRMA Insurance, a help company helping Australians protect what matters for almost 100 years. NRMA is one of the largest insurers of electric vehicles in Australia. And of course, Uniden smart dash cams, we would recommend you get a dash cam. Doesn't matter what car you drive, but if you've got an electric car, get a dash cam. Protect what you own there with a bit of peace of mind. Stephen, great to be with you. I just want to quickly, before we get to calls, because we've got a bunch of people to talk to on the show today. I know I'm probably over talking about it, but I am still 6 months into the solar game. But I've spent a real bit of time lately, trying to play the power game. Yes, because you just invest in solar, you really want to do that. And the upgrade of the wall box to the solar with the solar adapter has meant that I can plug in the morning and just let it sit there. Now, we've had in Sydney, we've had some pretty overcast and rainy days. And it's fascinating, the solar pumps out through the day, you pick up a fair bit of energy, enough to run the house, but not enough for it to trip over and go, this is enough to start charging the car. So I am interested in what's going to happen in winter for that purpose.
You'll see.
But
do you look at your chart? Have you?
But I'm talking about getting the car to pump in on solar, and that's going to be a challenge. So I think in winter you're going to need to switch to a kind of eco mode where you say, listen, I want you to use green, but it's okay for you to use the grid. Whereas I've gone 100% green for the last week and a half. Okay. And, mate, it's fascinating.
Is this with your Cooper or with the
both cars, just setting the charger to 100% green. So you set the wall box. That's the brand that we both bought.
Yeah, we both got the same.
Wall box Max.
We bought those, yes.
I've got one at the office now as well.
You got a wall box here too?
Yeah.
I'm going to plug in next
time.
Yeah,
go for it.
How slow? Is it 11 kilowatt?
No. It's three-phase.
Oh, hello.
I mean, it'll be 11 kilowatt. Yeah, because that's what you're going to get on your car. But so the point is that on a great sunny day, it's fascinating to watch the solar curve go up and just under it, the charge curve go as well. And basically, it charges as much as it can. And I feel great because I'm not sending energy back to the grid, which is
you're using it
essentially wasted.
That's
and
right.
Mate, it's a great feeling.
I got the same.
Because the app says $0 and I'm feeling great about it.
And I've got this. So you put a little thing on your board, didn't you? There's a little circuit that came with the wall box. And then the app, you do the app upgrade as well. And so, I do like that option of doing that. But usually I just put it in eco mode and it sort of takes a bit of the green, takes a bit of the grid, and gives me both.
But you've also had a bit of a charging experience this week as well.
For the very first time, I was using the Amp charge, which is Ampol's charges. And normally Ampol, as you know, they run petrol stations. And this was not at a petrol station. This is at the Moore Park East Village. Right. And not far from in the same car park, there are 2 NRMA charges, 3 NRMA charges. And then just down a little bit further, there's like 8 spots that have been painted all blue for these new high-speed, like 150 kilowatt amp chargers. And
that must be a great concentration in that area of EVs because you've got the Audi service centre, which has a massive 300 kilowatt charger.
Yes,
then you've got all the Ampols. You've got that's a lot. Yeah. So it's fascinating to me because I didn't realise that Ampol did amp chargers outside of their own property.
So there we have it. Yeah, I even
lift
took a
your
photo.
game, Ampol. Here's what I'm thinking. There's an Ampol up here on Pennant Hills Road, which, if you look at plug share, has clearly been earmarked as a site for electric, but there's been no construction. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But it's all right. There's one up the road from me anyway.
Just on the charging sites, there's been where my mother lives on the beach at Maroubra, the car park at Marn Pool. My mother got a letter from the council. She says, you might be interested in this. And they're putting 4 EV chargers in the Marn Pool car park at Maroubra Beach.
I used the laser code charge core cable the other day at Pennant Hills Marketplace, which was a complete waste of time because it's trickle charge basically. But hey, I got to use it and I tested it, so it went okay. So there you go. If you need one, they're available now at Harvey Norman and the like. But Ampol at random locations. I had no idea, which is a good sign that they're actually building a network as opposed to just kind of retrofitting their own existing network.
That's it.
Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. Let's go to your calls. 0477 657 657. Adam's on the line. G'day, Adam.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Now, if I'm correct, this is Toad Adam. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Toad boy.
You coined the term Toad for the Model Y, which I greatly appreciate.
Which our show has embraced, by the way,
It makes me giggle every episode I listen to that you say it. I feel like I've achieved something in life.
So what's happened since we last spoke? And remind us and our listeners your EV scenario.
We got the seal. My only complaint at the time was really just customer service stuff, which you guys talked to a fair bit about. But we've had it almost 6 months now, so going great. We've had one issue, which was an aircon issue, but you can get them in any car, right? So no, going great. In fact, so much so when the youngest one, who's 15, decides to go license, I'm seriously considering a secondhand EV instead of a combustion like we did for the oldest one. Internal combustion. Yeah.
So you're a convert, mate.
So the whole family jumped on board then.
Complete. Oh yeah. Like last night we had a storm and a blackout. So guess what I did?
Plug
the air fryer into the car.
No, not the air fryer. Did talk about it, but we did plug the coffee machine in, so there you go.
Got the basics. Well, mate, we plugged the air fryer in when we had a blackout near the back of the Kia, and we could cook the chips and nuggets for the kids. It was perfectly fine. So that's a massive win.
Amazing. So
have you looked? Have you looked at the second-hand market? You talk about maybe going down that route.
I've started keeping an eye on it. Like obviously, still a couple of years away, but certainly keeping an eye on it. And I can only imagine in the next couple of years there will probably be more stuff up on.
What are you finding
for sale at secondhand?
In you looking at the secondhand market? Are you finding that there's the cars are cheaper than you thought, more expensive, same price? What are you finding?
Well, I've really only looked up to about the 25,000 mark, and it's all predominantly Leafs and a battering of Hyundais and other stuff like that. But
okay, so no.
I guess the early Ioniqs and the Nissan Leaf, which would be low on range, but still, if you think about it, for the L plate, P plate car, they're not driving into the bush, so it's actually not a bad city runabout.
Exactly, and I'm thinking, by the time this happens in the next couple of years, you'll have other things on the market, right? So people would have gone to the end of leases on other cars and what have you. So. But to answer your question, probably around what I would expect to pay at this moment in time. But what's interesting is how lower Ks most of them have, and I just think it's a lot of the research now is suggesting as you guys have mentioned, you get probably many more years out of the batteries than originally anticipated. I think if you can pick up a low K one, you'd be winning.
And have you noticed too in the ads, are they addressing the health of the battery? Is that something that they're putting up front in their ad?
Some of them, yeah. Yeah, some of them are. Probably majority of the ones I looked at, sort of mention battery health is good. And
I sold when I sold my Tesla Model S, there was only, I would have had maybe, 20 people look at the car, and only about 4 or 5 asked about the battery health.
And we talked about
they looked at the case.
We talked about that with Ross from Amazing EV, who's a second-hand site you could go to, and NRMA have raised that as a really important thing for the future. So that'll be interesting to see how, if you're doing this for a couple of years, it'll be fascinating to see how that second-hand marketplace, not just the value, but just the overall marketplace evolves. Because, as you say, I think the other thing is you are going to be perfectly timed. The perfect time to buy an EV is probably in 2 to 3 years from now because of the amount of people that are coming off these novated lease incentive packages.
Yes.
Yeah?
Exactly.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. And I know it sounds a little bit sad sort of spending that much time, but I'm going to look forward to seeing what happens over the next couple of years because, it is. It has been overall, it's been a really cool experience owning an EV. So
it sounds like too you're very happy with your BYD, which, as you know, we all know, made in China. How would you respond when people are a bit hesitant to invest in an EV that's made in China?
Oh, what isn't made in China these days?
Right answer,
at the end of the day, you've got to meet certain standards, don't you, to get into Australia for starters.
Yep.
Look, I think a lot of it's probably, largely xenophobia, really, maybe.
I agree.
I think the quality of products are definitely. I mean, that's not to say there isn't rubbish as well. There's rubbish everywhere, but I know someone who's just bought an $80,000 2 Series BMW, and in all honesty, went through it. Lovely car, but it's got way less features than what our
Really?
$52,000 seal had, and yeah.
That says a lot. That says
you got to
lot.
remember, most of the cars, Teslas included, are essentially feature packed. In the EV space, even an MG, the lowest model does have a lot of the key features that people might be options in your European luxury cars. So it's a win. Yeah, I mean, that's great. It's good to hear you're still having a great experience with it. I decided to follow the secondhand journey there as well, because it's an interesting observation about the market and how it'll evolve for that secondhand over the next few years essentially, and that's why Amazing EV doing what they're doing, because I think they see it as being a space. It'll be a tough competitive space for them, because they've got to compete with car sales and everyone else who will just niche their way.
Absorb a lot more
they'll filter it. They'll add the data for battery health and all that kind of stuff. So fascinating. Good on you, mate. Great to hear from you again. We appreciate
Toad Boy will touch base in a couple of years.
Good on you, mate.
Don't hesitate to get back in touch, mate, anytime. And we will forever appreciate the nomenclature that is the Toad.
No, it's great to have a podcast that it's not sort of full of nonsense. So it's been enjoyable, guys.
I think this is nonsense, so we appreciate that.
Thanks, mate.
There you go.
Good on you, mate. Thanks very much for getting in touch. Cheers, buddy. Yeah, really good. And we'll have to. You've got a better memory than me, so whenever we talk about the Toad, you'll be able to remember Adam.
Adam. Yep. Adam did it.
Didn't want the Model Y because he thought it looked like a toad.
Yeah. Which was in line with Trevor's opinion of the car, wasn't it? Yeah. I don't mind. It's grown on me, the Model Y.
Yeah, I mean,
I think when it gets the new, how the Model 3 has got those.
Mate, when the Y gets the Highland update,
it needs that.
It will look better.
Yeah,
I don't believe it'll be.
Yeah.
Amazing.
When is that? Has that come out in the US yet or not?
I don't think it's ready.
It's normally add another year and a half to whenever it comes out.
No, it hasn't come out anywhere.
So, okay, right.
No, it's not out anywhere.
Still waiting.
Because I think, and there's price drops, I think demand has been an issue. So they need to.
Do we need to rename it then? Would it still be a Toad, or what would it be then?
Let's wait and see.
Toad turns into a prince.
Let's just wait and see the thing, okay? Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars.
You missed my dancing.
No, I didn't know which button was you. I was trying to get it onto you, and you were dancing.
Are you controlling that, or is it on auto?
Well, because it was on auto.
It seems to be lingering on you. Look, I'm talking and it's on you still. What are you doing there, mate?
Yeah, you're back.
Late to the party, 10 minutes.
Let's just be honest. It's me being lazy. We're sticking with the roadcaster switching.
Yeah.
People have been given great feedback on it on YouTube, but not enough to make me want to go back to the old school.
Not enough for Trev to change his workflow.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the new workflow, so I'm going to stick with it for now.
Which means less work, doesn't it? Because it's auto switching. Look.
We're all about efficiency here.
Absolutely,
okay?
absolutely.
Anyway, Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. Great to have your company. More calls, 0477657657. You can get in touch. Stephen's on camera, but I'm talking. That's how great the roadcast is going. I'm only just noticing it now, but anyway, I'm not sure I'm ready to just manually switch those, so it is what it is.
Okay.
Andrew's on the line. G'day, Andrew. How you doing?
G'day, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, really good, mate. Where are you at in your world of EV? Have you bought one? You're in the market?
In the market, we've just sort of had a look. We're on a bit of a holiday at the moment, so we started to have a look for a second car.
Nice.
And we've test driven two.
What are they?
At this point?
Yep.
The MG, MG4, and the Kia Niro.
Okay. So
how'd they go?
Yeah.
They're on your short list. So what do you think? What do you think of them? What's sort of bringing you? Which one are you favouring?
Well, they're on the short list basically for price range. We started looking at EVs and the need for that. We drive a Land Cruiser 200 series.
Okay.
So we were out in Burke for 8 years, so it obviously came in handy out there. And the other cars we had just weren't up for the rigours of that. But now we've moved back to the coast.
Right.
There's a lot more driving around the place, and it's just too heavy on fuel to keep doing that. So we thought we'll offset that car with an EV. So we had a look at the price range, and the MG was a fun car to drive. It was pretty nice, but then we sort of found a Kia Niro, one of the GT lines, at a pretty good price here in Coffs Harbour. So we just drove that one, just finished driving that one, and it was a better drive, I thought, than the MG.
Is that the one that's got some Ks on it? So like a demo?
It's a dealer demo or something, is it?
It had only it's got listed on cars that it had, I think, 2,000 Ks, but the guy said that's all they had to have that on it as a minimum. It actually had, when we looked at the dash, it has only like 37 or something. So it's
so the
it's a brand newbie.
So the listing says 2,000, but the actual car only had 30. That's very weird.
All right.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is you've test driven the Nero and the MG4. I would have said straight up, there's no doubt that the Nero's a better car. Okay, it's probably, I think the interior is probably a better fit and finish, and I think the ride and handling are probably a bit more premium. Just a touch, not next level premium, but just a touch. But that said, value wise, the MG4's a very much more affordable proposition, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's what we thought. That's why we were looking at that one. But this Kia we were looking at came right down. So when we looked at that and the savings on that one, it's not the huge difference between the two cars' price range. So, that's what we're sort of weighing up at the moment, that they're far closer together with this particular one.
Is this the first time you've driven an EV too? You and your wife, I'm assuming, the first time you've driven EVs?
Yes. Yeah.
And did it live up to your expectations? Were you surprised by anything? Or?
Probably how quiet they were.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah. Like I'd heard that. The only times I've been in them before was, I guess, when I'm in an Uber, and every second one of them in the city's a Tesla. But normally the music's up then. But no, it was really comfortable sort of drive, and that wasn't. It does feel like you're actually driving a car. There wasn't a whole lot of difference in driving other cars that I've driven before. Yeah. So.
You know what? I think you can overthink it sometimes, Andrew. Yeah. You can overthink it and think it's going to be something completely different, something random, something new to adjust to. And there are small idiosyncrasies like the brake regeneration that you should and could set up that does change the ride and handling. But really, mate, what time frame are you looking at for the purchase, do you think? Are you looking pretty quickly to pull the trigger?
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll go pretty quickly. It's something that we both work as in high schools, and then it's been the thing through our marriage sometimes, that in school holidays, I don't know if we just get bored, but we make outlandish purchases. So I think and it's our 15th wedding anniversary today as well.
Happy anniversary.
How good's that?
That's awesome.
Shout yourself an EV, for your anniversary.
A joint present for your anniversary is an EV. Now, the big thing, though, you're going to pull the trigger. What have you thought about, and what do you know about charging?
Yes, I was going to ask that.
Well, I find there's still some... still a bit of a grey area there of sort of a do your own research type of thing. So, and even maybe going onto YouTube, listen to a lot of your guys' podcasts around how to do it. And there's, at one end, there's, I think one of the episodes that you guys listened to was talking about having 10 different apps on your mobile phone, depending on where you went, and having to download and create accounts and all that sort of jazz. Where we live, there's a few charging stations around. Yep. We're sort of, we'd only drive between Coffs Harbour and Port Macquarie at the most.
Okay.
So there's a few around, but we also have a large solar set up on the roof of our house.
There you go.
So we'll have to look into how to best utilise that.
So maybe a wall charger.
Where that
is it three-phase, single-phase? What do you got with through your solar?
Three-phase. It's a three-phase.
So you
so that's why we've got to look into how to do that.
Your only issue there is your school. You said you were teachers, did you?
Yes.
So you're away in the peak charging time of day.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I need to figure out with that Kia. If that's charged fully, because we're only a 10-minute, 15-minute drive to work. And we both work at the same
you
school.
Won't have any issue going to and from. Like my wife would use 30% of the battery in a week at most, just driving to and from work. But it's when and you can argue that it doesn't exist, but it does exist. Range anxiety exists. People, you get to 40%, and you're like, what am I going to do? Not thinking that you've got another whole week there.
Yeah.
Now, after that time, when you get to 30%, 40%, whatever the threshold is for you to go, well, let's charge the car, you're either going to plug in at home. Now, the weekends are great. If you are homebodies, then the weekend, plug the car in, juice it off the solar for free, and take the Land Cruiser for a trip down the coast or whatever you're doing, right? But you're not going to get advantage of the solar if you're at work every day and 5 days a week, and you're using the car on the weekend. So the solar doesn't really help you in that sense. So what you need to do is, did you say Port or Coffs? Which one are you actually living in?
We're in between, Kempsey, Crescent Head.
So
right in the middle.
Or get the high school to put a charger in.
Oh, that's a bit
Get them to put
controversial.
a charger in.
Public school? Or
Well,
Could do that, yeah.
why not?
Yeah.
I don't want my taxes paid for Andrew's bloody electricity. Thank you very much.
You're not the principal, are you, mate? Is this your decision or what?
I might be, but I wouldn't be signing off on that one. I don't think.
Yeah, get the PNC to fund it.
May not pass the pub test, that one. I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, look, the problem, look, remember this. Trickle charging your car, which is the idea of plugging into the normal power point that exists in your garage.
You'd get by with that.
All you'll need to do every night.
Yeah.
And if you can find an overnight plan that's going to give you low rates overnight, you can set the car to only charge ready to go by 6 a.m. or 7 a.m.
Yeah.
So you can take advantage of that, mate. So
Plenty of options.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, righto. Yeah, well, that's where we're looking into now. So, yeah, like you said before, I think I might be overthinking this part of things as well.
No, I think it's the right thing to do. I think you need to understand that because in Crescent Head, there's no public charges, right? So it's not like, so for example, we had 3 rainy days in a row and I thought, you're going to take the Cooper up and make sure it's got full charge. Yep. So I took it up to Hornsby and I charged it at the EV charger. Done, right? Happy. But you don't have that. You got to make a run down to Port or Coffs, right? That's a decent drive to just fill her up. So, mate, I think you go down the path of it's a phone. Plug it in the wall when you get home and just juice it up. Top it up every day. And you'll never notice that it's going down.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, that's simple enough to do.
Yeah, I think you'll love that, mate. But look, I'd love to hear what you end up buying, mate. I feel like you're loving the Kia, and you look like you're getting a great deal. So, mate, you'll have no regrets there. It's a beautiful car, the Nero.
Thanks, I'm glad to hear it. Thanks for your help with that.
No worries at all, Andrew. Thanks for getting in touch.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Shout out to Kelly as well. Enjoy. Happy anniversary, mate. Yes. Happy anniversary. Lovely stuff.
Well, didn't he say his wife actually did the...
She's the one that texts us, apparently.
See, so the wife... They were all on top of things, mate.
And then when I've texted back, I've said, can we chat and everything? Yeah. And then I've said, what's your name? Andrew comes back. Oh. Interesting. Kelly's like, nah, I'm not going on.
There you go.
The challenge is for Kelly to come on next time.
When they buy the car, maybe it's like a couple of months in.
I feel like, no disrespect to Andrew, but I feel like that's the most raw EV potential buyer we've spoken to, right? Because they're like impulse, essentially. We're going to go and have a look at this thing. Yep. They've got a couple they've driven, but they really haven't yet started thinking about the charging and all that home
the whole
stuff.
Situation, how far they drive. Those got the Land Cruiser.
And I'm saying that's a good thing. Because it means that we're getting to the point where people are going, let's get a new car.
Thought into it.
Let's just get an EV. Yeah. Like it's not the homework that's required that was the case years ago. People are just able to go, let's get an EV. And, mate, that's not a great place to live to rely on public charging. Yeah. Although Crescent Head, in between Coffs and Port Macquarie on the north coast of New South Wales. Yep. But essentially anywhere they want a road trip to, they're going via one of those two. So they're always going to be, even if they were at 30%, they could get to Coff or Ports and then pump it up to 80 and off you go.
Yeah, but he's got his solar set up at home too, so there's that option. But also the granny charger would suit him too.
I feel like the solar's not going to work for them because they work.
Yeah, they're during the day.
5 days a week.
They're not there. Yeah, right.
That's my big thing about
our. Did he say he was the principal or not?
I feel like you got that. I feel like you got that out of him.
I think he was. Yeah.
But the advantage we have with the solar is man doesn't work 5 days a week. So there are 2 work days where she's at least home for a few hours that the car can be plugged in. Yep. And she's listening to her brother installed the charger. He's a Sparky. And she's listening to us talk about what we're trying to do and with the green energy.
So
and then on the weekend,
most days
on the weekend, it's like, which car are we taking? Well, I'll always favour the one that's not plugged in and needs charge, right? It's fine. Anyway. First world
That's the way to do it.
That's
the way to these are things you've got to really think about once you're an EV owner. Yeah. You've really got to do it.
We'd love your feedback. If you've got a charging experience, a buying experience, a test driving experience, let us know. 0477 657 657.
Oh, you're doing it. Manual. That was manual.
I can push the buttons manually.
Manual switch.
Yeah, you point.
Trevor always pushes my buttons. That probably didn't come out right, did it? So can we rewind that bit? Or?
Nah, it's done. It's in the can.
And it's just on you still? No, not
well,
me.
it's on auto now,
Okay.
and
all right.
it's on us, right?
Yep.
Just relax, okay? You don't get enough
I'll
airtime.
just push Trev's buttons.
No, mate, they won't work. That will not help. Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. If you'd like to be involved, 0477 657 657. Rob is on the line. G'day, Rob.
How you doing, mate?
Yeah, really, really good, mate. Thanks for joining us. You got a bit of a journey. You've done a lot of research. You've looked around. We've texted a bit over the time. The first time we've got you on the show, you've travelled internationally, but you've done some road trips lately in an electric car. Is that yours? You own a Polestar?
Yeah. I've got a long range dual motor.
Yep.
And it is the best thing since sliced bread. I mean, it's Porsche fast. It's comfortable.
Yeah.
It does everything we want in terms of we live out in the country. So going into Brisbane, it's got 500 k's of range, so we can go into Brisbane and, you know, if we want, duck down the Gold Coast at the same time and come home and everything's cool. We've got 25 kilowatts of solar on the roof, and I'm sort of retired, building a house, and we can plug it in and off we go.
Build the roof
and
first, mate.
That's fine.
Build the roof first, put the solar on.
But I think there's a long way to go to get to the point for me where I would be bothered to not take the little Audi we've got rather than take the Polestar when we go for a longer trip.
So you've had some experience, though, haven't you? Here, where'd you go to Cessnock and then to Canberra? Is that right? So you had a couple of different charging experiences.
We had two different trips, and the one to Canberra in the Polestar was just it just got out of hand, really, in terms of waiting for chargers.
Right.
Chargers not being compatible. Paying 90 cents at a Tesla supercharger.
That does frustrate. It's a last resort kind of thing, isn't it? Going to the open Teslas.
Yeah. So the NRMA ones are 50 something cents, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But as my wife said, we're going to have to stop in Armidale on the way back, aren't we? So what are we going to do? Go to the same cafe? So and I think the icing on the cake was getting to the hotel in Canberra, where there were 4 AC Tesla chargers, and 3 of them were taken up by ICE cars, and the other one had a Model Y in it that was parked there for 3 days.
Bloody toad!
Don't you hate that? And I love the little pun, icing on the cake.
Icing on the cake.
They iced you. They iced you. Don't you hate that? It's really every time I turned up at spots where there's just that just to me seems there's no regard by those ICE drivers. They don't care.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And the spaces are clearly marked.
And the hotel's not going to do anything about it, are they?
No, the hotel, we spoke to the hotel and they said we can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
You know, people just park their cars there and disappear for a couple of days.
Can I ask, did you book that hotel because they had charges?
No, I actually didn't even know they had them.
Oh, right, okay.
Right.
But when we arrived and the guy said to me, we've got EV chargers out the back there, because he knew what the car was.
Yeah.
And so we drove out the back, but there was no availability to plug in.
Only to be iced right there, yeah.
But what about the Tesla, the Toad that was there for 3 days? Didn't move. What's up with that? Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So frustrating.
It's a funny, a confluence for you of this call. Like, you're absolutely besotted by the car.
Yeah.
But you understand that we're a long way off this working for people. And I think, I think what I'm hearing from you is, like, that point about the cafe. That's a really interesting one, because even if the infrastructure's there, it's like, gosh, like Goulburn's a good example in my world. If I go to Goulburn and go to the Charged Fox, their ultra-fast one's awesome.
Yep.
Mate, it's at what was the original Macca's back in the day. It's now just a dodgy cafe, with respect to the owners, I'm sorry. Across the road is the real new Macca's, but it's nowhere near town because it's on the outskirts of town. So you end up sitting in your bloody car. You might go to Macca's for a burger, but then you come back because that's 10 minutes because Macca's is literal fast food.
Yep.
And it's just not a great experience. And it's not something, here's the thing, I wouldn't take my wife there. I've never taken my wife to that charger.
Really?
Because she would go, what is this? This is like, where are we? Like, it's disgusting.
Okay.
My wife's just walked away. But you know, going to Canberra meant that what we would do in the Audi in a day, it just became impractical.
Yeah.
It's 14 hours in a day, and we still do that. But by the time you add 3 stops of an hour each on a 50 kilowatt charger, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. So, we've got a long way to go, mate. We've got a long way to go. Yeah. But, you've got the 2 cars. That's probably the wise thing for right now. I feel like I'm justifying the 2 electric car process by being very comfortable that I know that the 4.5-hour drive I do to Young is added to with charging, but it's also a break for the kids at the very least on a long trip. So it doesn't really stress me that much, but I guess I've accounted for that in my mind. I'm just happy with the fact that that's the way it's going to be. So,
yeah, well, look, from home here, we can go to the Gold Coast or the Sunshine Coast or Brisbane or out to Warwick on a full charge, come back, plug it in, no sweat.
Yep.
As I say, it's got 500 k's of range, and I honestly wouldn't buy anything that didn't have 500 k's of range.
I agree 100%.
Totally.
Yep.
That's a reasonable number. We will either. I'm thinking of letting the Polestar go, and you were talking the other day about cars with V2L and V2G or whatever.
Yep.
Is that we only have about 20 kilowatt hours of battery on the house, and the ridiculous thing is I can go and buy 80 killawatt hours of battery in a car for $60,000, whereas it'll cost me more than that to buy just the battery.
For the house,
I was talking to the guys at Wallbox yesterday about vehicle to grid and vehicle load, just trying to get a sense of it. It's the standard, by the way, has been approved. Yep. The Australian standard for the charger. It now needs to be legislated and regulated. So we're getting close. We're getting there. But it was fascinating to me. I made the point about how, and I talked about at the start of the show, how I'm enjoying the going fully green. But I did got a quote for batteries. It was $15,000 for 15 kilowatt hours of battery. And I said to the bloke on the other end of the line, I said, mate, I've got 160 kilowatts of battery sitting in the driveway. I'll just wait. If my bills are $500 more a quarter for the next 3 years until I get vehicle to load, I don't care, vehicle to grid, I don't mind, because when I've got 100 just call one car, this 99 kilowatt Kia EV9, at night time, that's going to lose 15% at most of my overnight usage. So,
and then we charge you back up again.
You got to think long term here, don't you?
Completely.
Well, we're totally off grid. So your EV9 with even just the V2L, we can plug. I had a mate's BYD that we plugged into the generator socket on the system we have here. That and the guys that put the solar in and the Selectronic gear in, they've set the draw from the
to be the low rate
at it's at 2 kilowatts. So we can plug the car in and just use it as an extra. It'll just charge the battery at 2 kilowatts per hour. It's sort of the same rate as the granny charger.
While the house draws off the battery.
Yeah, while the house draws off the battery, it'll take the big surges, if we use a kettle or something like that. Mm-hmm. But the car's still putting in 2.5 kilowatts all the time. And at night, with every light on in the place, LEDs are only using 5 to 10 watts. So you can run 200 of them.
Sounds like you got a big system, mate. So what do you say? You got 25 kilowatts of panels and 25 kilowatt battery as well. That's solid.
He's
setup.
off grid.
You are off grid.
You've got to be off grid, don't you?
That's awesome.
Well,
yeah. So during the day, if the sun's shining, we can, through the 3 inverters, we can actually draw about 30 kilowatts of power.
Wow.
But, yeah, so the battery won't last that long if you try doing that.
No,
but
probably not, yeah.
It will handle about 15 kilowatts, so...
Very good. Well,
Awesome,
I
mate.
enjoy the Polestar for as long as you got it. I look forward to hearing what you buy next, Rob. And good luck with the journey. But I think you're right. I think you sum up most honest EV owners. We've still got a long way to go to be, fully into it. But the experience is pretty solid at the base level and around home. So, mate, we appreciate you sharing your input with us, Rob. Good on you, mate.
Good day.
Thanks very much.
Thanks,
Good
mate.
on you, mate. Very nice to hear from you. And if you want to get in touch, 0477 657 657. Fully off grid.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
fantastic. But what about his bad luck though? Going ice cars in the charging spaces.
The icing on the cake.
Isn't it true? Did we discuss this before that you can be fined if you're in a public charging spot? I thought the fine was like $1,200, like $2,300.
Have we discussed that? I don't think we have.
I think there's a fine. You can be fined. I think if it's set it on the sign, non-EVs
I think if
face
it's a
fines.
council sign, I think it depends where you are.
Yeah.
Like that shopping centre you're at.
That would certainly
good luck.
detract people from parking
Yeah.
there. And plus, they stand out. The part like the amp chargers that I use,
Blue.
bright blue. You can't miss it. And so for someone to go, I didn't know it was a charger. That's not right. But there's just no consequence. They think, who cares? Yeah.
All right, we'd love to know what you think. 0477 657 657. It's Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. We thank NRMA Insurance and Uniden Smart Dash Scans for their support. We'll be back again next week with another show, Stephen. I'll see you then.
See you, buddy.
See you, mate.
Here, bro.